A waitress dropped food on the richest woman in the restaurant, but what she said next made the entire room freeze in silence. That day, Lou Bijou was packed with guests enjoying their lunch beneath crystal chandeliers and the soft hum of jazz echoing from the ceiling speakers. In a corner near the kitchen, a young waitress named Anna double-checked her order slips while wiping sweat from her forehead. She was only 22, but the weight she carried went far beyond her years. Anna wasn't just a server. She was also a sister to a sick younger brother, and the only breadwinner left after her father had died unexpectedly the year before. 3 nights a week, Anna attended night classes to pursue a college degree. The rest of her time was spent on her feet, serving customers who never bothered to learn her name. The morning had been smooth so far. Every table was full. No complaints. No angry guests. Until a sleek black car pulled up outside the glass door of the restaurant. The staff exchanged glances. Whispers filled the air. One of the waiters leaned in and murmured a name that made Anna's heart skip. Veronica Langston. Just a name alone chilled the room. Veronica wasn't just another guest. She was one of the most powerful women in town, owner of half the buildings on Main Street, a string of luxury restaurants, and a major backer of city government projects. On paper, she looked like a standard businesswoman. But in reality, everyone knew the truth. She was ruthless, condescending, and had a habit of firing employees on the spot over the slightest inconvenience. The sound of her heels striking the marble floor echoed like gunshots. Conversation dropped. Even the background music seemed to lower its volume. The restaurant manager, a man named George, rushed to greet her with a practiced smile. "Welcome back, Miss Langston. Your usual table is ready." Veronica nodded without a word. She took her seat at table 9, the most coveted spot in the house, right by the tall glass window. Outside, the afternoon sky glowed gold. Inside, everything felt frozen. George turned and scanned the room. His eyes landed on Anna. "Anna, you'll be serving Miss Langston today." Anna stood still. Her eyes widened. "Me?" George nodded, handing her the order slip. "Don't mess this up. One mistake, and we could lose this entire place." With trembling hands, Anna took the slip. She knew she couldn't say no. This might be the day that changed her life, for better or worse. She returned to the kitchen and began preparing the dish. Butter-roasted lobster, organic greens, and a glass of pink champagne. In the background, the head chef called out, "You sure you want to take that tray yourself, Anna?" "No choice," she replied, carefully setting everything on the silver platter. She took a deep breath. Her shoes were still slightly damp from a spilled drink earlier that hadn't dried completely, but there was no time to change. With careful steps, she walked out of the kitchen, moving past the tables, balancing the tray with steady focus, slowly approaching Veronica's table. And then, out of nowhere, a small child dashed across the aisle and bumped her hip. The tray tilted. Time slowed down. The lobster slipped. Butter sauce glittered midair. Champagne sprayed like pink confetti. And in just a heartbeat, everything came crashing down, right onto Veronica Langston's white silk dress. The sound of shattering porcelain marked the end of the first chapter in a day that was about to become unforgettable. The crash echoed like thunder across the dining room. Every fork halted midair. Conversations died mid-sentence. The jazz music faded into irrelevance. Even the clink of glasses came to a full stop. The restaurant stood still, as if time had paused to watch what would happen next. Anna froze, her hand still outstretched from the spill. Her eyes locked onto the mess in front of her. The butter sauce dripped in long streaks down Veronica Langston's pristine white dress. The lobster shell had bounced off her lap and rolled onto the floor. Pink champagne soaked the fine silk like ink on paper, and the scent, lobster and lemon butter, hung in the air like a cruel joke. Veronica didn't scream. Not yet. Instead, she moved slowly, deliberately, like a volcano gathering pressure beneath its surface. She stood up from her chair with a grace, so sharp it cut through the silence. Her hands smoothed down the soaked fabric. Her lips were pressed into a thin, dangerous line. Anna wanted to speak, to apologize, to disappear, to do anything, but her mouth wouldn't open. She was frozen, Every muscle in her body locked. Her heart thudded in her ears, drowning out every other sound. Then came the first word. You. Veronica's voice was quiet, but sharp enough to slice glass. Do you have any idea, she continued, her voice rising with every syllable, what this dress costs? Eyes turned from every corner of the restaurant. Businessmen, couples on dates, a birthday party across the room. Everyone was now watching Table 9, watching Anna, watching Veronica. Anna's lips parted, but no sound came out. This is hand-stitched silk flown in from Milan. Do you think that kind of fabric comes off with hot water and a towel? Veronica's voice was louder now. Are you trained? Or did they pull you off the street 5 minutes ago and hand you a tray? Anna blinked hard. Her throat tightened. Heat rose to her cheeks. She wanted to explain. She wanted to say it was an accident, that the child ran into her. But she knew Veronica wouldn't care. The restaurant manager, George, rushed in. His ties swung as he nearly tripped over a chair in his hurry. Miss Langston, I am so terribly sorry. This is completely unacceptable. I assure you we will. He turned to Anna. Take off your apron. You're done for the day. Anna still didn't move. Her hands trembled at her sides. Her mind swirled in a storm of shame, shock, and quiet rage. George stepped closer. Now, Anna. For a moment, it seemed like the story would end there, that Anna would walk away in tears, jobless, humiliated, and forgotten. But something inside her shifted. Her fingers curled slightly. Her shoulders straightened. Her lips, for the first time since the tray had fallen, finally moved. And her voice, quiet but steady, filled the space between her and Veronica. Don't. It was a single word, but it rang louder than any scream. The entire restaurant watched as Anna slowly raised her chin and looked Veronica in the eye. And what she said next would change everything. Anna stood still, her fingers clenched lightly by her sides. The room, heavy with silence, waited for what would happen next. The tension was so thick, it felt like no one dared breathe too loudly. George, the manager, looked stunned. Veronica's glare deepened, but Anna's voice didn't waver. I said don't, she repeated more firmly now. Don't fire me. Don't humiliate me. And don't act like I meant to do this. Veronica blinked slowly. Her diamond earrings caught the light as she tilted her head ever so slightly, studying the girl who dared raise her voice. Anna took a shaky breath. Her face was flushed, but her tone sharpened. A little boy ran into me. That's why the tray slipped. I didn't trip. I didn't fumble. I was trying to serve you the way we're all terrified to, perfectly. Gasps came from nearby tables. One woman in a red dress leaned forward with wide eyes. Even the chef in the kitchen poked his head out, silently watching. Veronica opened her mouth, but Anna didn't let her speak. I'm tired of pretending your money makes you untouchable, she said. You come in here, week after week, acting like the rest of us are disposable. But we're not. George stepped forward, clearly panicking now. Anna, that's enough. Apologize right now or I'll... Anna ignored him. I'm not disposable, she said, her voice cracking now. I'm someone. I get up at 5 every morning to help my little brother with his medication. I take night classes 3 times a week. I haven't had a day off in 6 months. And I still come in here with a smile. Tears welled in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. I don't expect sympathy, she added, but I do expect basic respect. Silence. It was deafening. Veronica didn't speak. She didn't blink. The restaurant around them felt frozen in place. Every customer, every server, even George. Then came the first sound, the faint clink of a spoon falling into a coffee cup on the table behind Anna. A ripple of movement. Someone lowered their menu. Another guest leaned in to whisper something, eyes still locked on the scene. Veronica looked at Anna. Really looked. Her expression softened, if only for a moment. Her voice, when it returned, was low and unreadable. You think this gives you the right to lecture me? She asked. Anna didn't answer. Her chest rose and fell with slow, deep breaths. Veronica's lips curved, half amusement, half something else. Something unfamiliar. "You're either incredibly brave," she said, "or incredibly stupid." Anna stood her ground. "I'll take either one. But I won't be invisible anymore." And with that, she reached up, untied her apron, and let it fall to the ground. It landed with a soft, final thud, like the end of a chapter the whole restaurant had been unknowingly reading together. The apron lay on the marble floor, silent but screaming. It was more than just fabric. It was defiance. It was a girl refusing to shrink into background. And still no one moved. Veronica Langston's eyes stayed fixed on Anna. There was no more rage on her face. No disgust. Only calculation. She studied Anna like one might study a chessboard. And for the first time, it wasn't clear who had the upper hand. George finally found his voice, though it came out thin. "Miss Langston, please. We'll replace your meal, your dress. Anything you want. This won't happen again." Veronica raised her hand slightly, silencing him with just a flick of her fingers. Then, slowly, she reached into her handbag, a small black leather clutch with a gold clasp, and pulled out her wallet. The room watched as she unfolded it. Fingers delicate, movements precise. She pulled out a bill, one, then two, then a third. Each one crisp, freshly printed. She placed them gently on the table beside her untouched plate. $1,000 tip. The restaurant gasped in unison. George blinked, confused. "Miss Langston?" She didn't respond to him. Her gaze remained locked on Anna. Then, with a calm that felt almost surreal, Veronica spoke. "I don't tip," she said flatly. "Not because I can't, but because I've never seen someone who earned it." She pushed the bills forward slightly. "Until now." Anna stared at the money, not understanding. Veronica stood upright, adjusted her jacket, and continued, "You could have crumbled. Instead, you stood up, even when you were scared. That's rare." Anna didn't move. Her hands were still shaking, not from fear now, but from disbelief. Veronica took one last look at the ruined dress she wore. Then, as casually as if nothing had happened, she turned to leave. But just before she stepped away from the table, she spoke again, softly this time, and only loud enough for Anna to hear. "Come see me tomorrow. I have a different kind of job for you." Then she walked away, heels echoing down the floor, leaving behind a stunned crowd, a ruined meal, and a girl who had no idea her life had just pivoted. The room stayed quiet long after the door closed behind Veronica. The other customers slowly returned to their meals. The sound of clinking glasses and murmured voices returned like a wave of static after a moment of silence. But Anna remained still, because what just happened was bigger than a mistake. It was the beginning of something she hadn't dared to imagine. As the glass door slowly swung shut behind Veronica Langston, the restaurant began to breathe again. It started with a single chair scraping back against the tile. Then came the murmurs, soft, rapid, the kind of whispers that felt too sharp to be harmless. Tables leaned closer. People exchanged glances over half-eaten pasta and untouched wine. Anna stood there, still frozen beside the $1,000 bills. Her apron remained on the floor. Her heartbeat had not yet slowed. "Did she just offer her a job?" a man at table 6 muttered. "I thought she was going to fire her on the spot," a woman whispered. George hovered awkwardly by the counter. His hands trembled slightly as he wiped down an already clean surface, his thoughts clearly somewhere else. Every few seconds, he glanced at Anna but said nothing. Perhaps he, too, was afraid of what she might say next. Anna finally reached out and picked up the bills, slowly, carefully, like they might vanish if she touched them wrong. The paper felt real, too real, heavy in her hand. Heavier still in what it meant. No one had ever tipped her like that. No one had ever spoken to her like that. She turned and started walking toward the staff hallway, away from the crowd, away from the eyes. But even behind her, the whispers clung like a fog. She talked back to Veronica Langston. She didn't get fired. She got a job. She's either crazy or brilliant. The kitchen door swung open. As Anna stepped inside, the clatter of pans and hiss of steam returned to her ears. Familiar sounds, familiar smells. But even here, among the cooks and the dishwashers and the shouting orders, people were watching her differently now. Luis, the head chef, raised an eyebrow. What did she say to you? Anna paused, unsure how to explain it. I don't know, she finally answered, but I think she meant it. He gave a low whistle. Girl, whatever you did, you shook the queen. Anna managed a faint smile, but her hands were still trembling. The adrenaline was fading, and in its place came a swirl of fear and confusion. Was it real? Had Veronica really offered her a job? Or was it just a test? A trap? Some cruel power play? Or was it an opening? A door she never thought would appear? She sat down on a crate near the walk-in fridge, gripping the edge of her seat with white knuckles. The coolness of the room contrasted sharply with the heat of her thoughts. And then her phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. 10 a.m. sharp. For 20 Belmont Tower. Don't be late. VL. Anna stared at the screen. Belmont Tower. The tallest building in the city. Veronica Langston's headquarters. Her stomach dropped. It wasn't a bluff. The richest woman in the restaurant hadn't just forgiven her. She had opened a door that no one had ever dared to knock on. The next morning, Anna stood in front of Belmont Tower, craning her neck to take in the full height of the building. It was massive. 40 stories of polished glass and power, jutting into the sky like a monument to everything Anna never thought she'd be a part of. She clutched her small black purse tightly, the $1,000 bills from the day before still folded neatly inside, not because she intended to spend them, but because she needed proof that yesterday really happened. The revolving glass doors whispered open before her. Cool air rushed out to greet her. Inside, the lobby was an entirely different world. Marble floors gleamed like mirrors. Giant sculptures loomed near the elevators. Even the air smelled expensive, like cedarwood and ambition. A man in a charcoal suit approached her with a tablet. Name? Anna Rivers, she said. He tapped the screen, nodded once, and handed her a security badge. Floor 39. Miss Langston is expecting you. As she stepped into the elevator, the world outside seemed to shrink with each passing floor. She kept glancing at her reflection in the mirrored doors, her thrifted blouse, her pressed slacks, her two worn shoes. She looked out of place, like a storybook character that wandered into the wrong chapter. The elevator dinged. Floor 39. The doors opened into silence and sunlight. No front desk. No receptionist. Just a hallway lined with soft beige carpet and a single glass door at the end etched with gold letters. Veronica Langston, Executive Suite. Anna hesitated before knocking. Once. Twice. Come in. Came the voice from inside, sharp, calm, unmistakable. She opened the door. The office was enormous, minimalist, and cold. Floor-to-ceiling windows bathed the space in golden light. Behind a sleek black desk sat Veronica Langston, dressed in a dark suit, hair pinned back like a steel crown. Not a trace of lobster or champagne in sight. Veronica didn't look up immediately. She scribbled something onto a page, then finally raised her eyes. You're on time, she said. I didn't think being late was an option, Anna replied, voice steady despite the knot in her chest. Veronica gestured to the seat across from her. Sit. Anna obeyed. Veronica clasped her hands and leaned forward. I've had offers, dozens of them. People begging to be part of my companies. Ivy League grads. Sons of senators. None of them spoke to me the way you did yesterday. Anna shifted slightly. I wasn't trying to impress you. I was just done. Exactly. Veronica's eyes narrowed. That's why you're here. She opened a folder on the desk and slid it toward Anna. A simple page sat inside. Langston Group, Special Assistant Program. 6 months. Full salary. Direct mentorship. Anna looked up, stunned. I want to see what happens, Veronica said. When someone like you is given a real chance. Not charity. Not pity. A position. Anna's throat tightened. Why me? Veronica smiled for the first time. It wasn't warm, but it wasn't cruel either, because you had the guts to ruin my dress and speak your truth in the same breath. Anna stared at the folder. This was real. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a test. It was an invitation. The question was, would she take it? The silence stretched as Anna stared at the folder in front of her. Her fingers hovered above the paper, uncertain, trembling slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of the decision in front of her. For so long, her world had revolved around surviving. Bills, medications, double shifts, night school, and now, suddenly, she was being offered something else entirely. Not a favor, not an apology. A place. Do you want a job or not? Veronica asked, voice calm but firm. Anna looked up. What exactly would I be doing? Veronica leaned back in her chair. You'd be assisting me directly. You'd sit in meetings, take notes, organize my schedule, screen what I don't have time for. You'd learn, observe, and if you prove you're more than just defiance in a cheap uniform, maybe you'll grow. Anna nodded slowly. And if I mess up again? Veronica's lips curved. Then you'll clean up better than you did at Le Bijou. Despite herself, Anna smiled. It was the first time in days she had. She signed the paper. Good, Veronica said, standing. Now go downstairs. They'll measure you for your workwear. First impressions matter here. Anna stood too. You're really giving me this chance? Veronica walked past her the window, hands clasped behind her back. I don't do chances. I do investments. Let's see if you're worth it. With that, the conversation ended. Anna stepped back into the hallway, holding the folder to her chest like it might slip away. The elevator ride down felt surreal, as if she had just been airlifted out of one life and gently placed into another. On the ground floor, a woman in all black waited for her beside a small room marked fittings. Without saying a word, she beckoned Anna inside. 10 minutes later, Anna stood in front of a mirror, wearing a charcoal gray blazer, matching slacks, and a crisp white blouse. The transformation was instant. She didn't look like the girl who scraped gum from under booths. She didn't look like the girl who worked double shifts at a crowded bistro. She looked capable. The tailor nodded once and said, You'll do fine. Outside, the city roared on, cars and cabs racing by, businessmen shouting into phones, the air full of heat and ambition. But for Anna, everything had slowed. Because for the first time in her life, she wasn't chasing behind anyone. She wasn't begging for an opportunity. She was walking into it. With her head high, she stepped out of Belmont Tower, her new ID badge clipped to her blazer, and her old life shrinking smaller behind her. Anna's first day at Langston Group began before the sun even touched the skyline. By 6:30, she was already at her desk, directly outside Veronica Langston's office on the 39th floor. The space was stark but elegant, with high ceilings, floor-length windows, and walls that seemed to whisper precision with every grain of polished wood. Anna wore her new uniform, a tailored gray suit that fit perfectly now. Her hair was tied back, her notebook open, her pen poised. She looked the part, but her stomach twisted with nerves. At 7 a.m. sharp, Veronica entered without a word. She dropped a stack of files on Anna's desk, glanced at the untouched coffee beside her, and said, Room 3B. 10 minutes. You're in. Anna blinked. I'm in the meeting? Veronica didn't slow her stride. You're not here to warm a chair. Walk with me. And just like that, the day began. Room 3B was a steel-and-glass war zone of corporate fire. Inside were 10 men in expensive suits, most old enough to have grandkids. They stopped talking when Anna walked in behind Veronica. This is my assistant, Veronica said simply, without glancing at her. Treat her the way you'd treat me. No one responded, but Anna could feel the resistance like a heat wave. The meeting began, figures, forecasts, expansion plans, mergers. Anna tried to keep up. She jotted notes as fast as she could, though her fingers ached. She recognized terms from her night school textbooks, but in this room, they came at her like bullets. At one point, a man named Jacob, head of strategic investments, smirked and directed a question her way. Maybe the new assistant can explain why Q3 dip projections don't align with growth estimates in Region 7? Laughter flickered in the room like smoke. Anna's pen stopped. Her face flushed. But Veronica didn't rescue her. She remained perfectly silent, watching. Anna swallowed. Her eyes dropped to the notes she had taken. Her hands were shaking. She didn't know the full answer, but she had noticed something earlier. She cleared her throat. I don't know the full scope of Region 7's performance, she said carefully, but during the last review, the customer churn in that region increased by 14% due to delivery failures. She flipped her notes, which aren't shown in the Q3 graphs because they were marked as temporary logistics anomalies. That might explain the mismatch. The room went silent. Jacob stared at her, stunned. Veronica smiled, barely. The meeting resumed, but the tone had shifted. Back at her desk, hours later, Anna sipped cold coffee and rubbed her temples. Her head ached. Her nerves were frayed, but she had survived. And more than that, she had been heard. Later that afternoon, a file arrived on her desk marked urgent. A contract dispute involving one of Veronica's subsidiaries. No instructions. No summary. Just 200 pages of fine print. Anna stared at it. It was a test, and she wasn't about to fail. She took the folder home that night, spread the pages across her kitchen table, highlighted clauses, research cases, cross-reference definitions she barely understood. When dawn broke, her eyes were red and her hands were ink-stained, but she was ready. By the time Veronica entered her office that morning, Anna was standing by her desk. I flagged Clause 8D, she said, handing over the file. The payout penalty is disguised as a bonus incentive. It's a trap. Veronica flipped to the page. Read. Paused. Then, without looking up, she said, "Good catch." It was only 2 words. But for Anna, they meant everything. By the 3rd week, Anna had earned a place, not just physically outside Veronica Langston's office, but in the cadence of the building itself. She moved through halls with purpose. She spoke with confidence. And the staff, who once raised eyebrows at her presence, now gave her respectful nods. Even Jacob, the sharp-tongued executive who had tried to trip her in her first meeting, now addressed her with careful politeness. But with new heights come new shadows. One rainy Thursday afternoon, as Anna returned from a lunch errand for Veronica, she saw someone standing in the lobby, soaking wet, out of place. It was her mother. Anna's chest tightened. It had been months since they last spoke, years since they'd had a conversation that didn't end in yelling or silence. Her mother spotted her instantly. "There you are," she said, pulling her coat tighter. "Why haven't you called?" Anna shifted uncomfortably. "I've been working. It's intense." "You forgot about your brother's physical therapy payment." Anna's stomach dropped. "I transferred it last week." "Not enough," her mother snapped. "And you didn't answer my texts." Before Anna could reply, a voice behind her interrupted. "Is everything all right, Miss Rivers?" It was Sean, one of the junior analysts from the 31st floor. He looked between the 2 women, clearly sensing tension. Anna forced a polite smile. "Yes, just family." Her mother turned to Sean with narrowed eyes. Family that raised her while she ran off to play pretend in skyscrapers. Sean excused himself, sensing he'd stepped into something fragile. Anna faced her mother again. "I'm not playing. I'm working, and I'm finally getting somewhere." Her mother's expression didn't soften. "So now you're too good for us? You think a new suit and a rich boss erase where you came from?" The words cut deep. Anna clenched her jaw. "No, but I am trying to build something better. For me, for Leo." Her mother looked at her with mixture of resentment and something that might have been pride, buried deep under years of bitterness. "Then don't forget why you're doing it," she said. "And don't forget us." With that, she turned and left, stepping into the rain without an umbrella. Anna stood still for a moment, heart pounding. That night, she worked later than usual. Veronica had left early for a board gala. The office lights dimmed one by one, until only Anna's desk remained glowing in the corner of floor 39. She opened her phone and checked her bank app. The balance was finally something that didn't scare her. She sent an immediate transfer to the therapy center. Then, she opened her brother's photo in her gallery. Leo, 10 years old, fragile, bright, smiling even when the pain was too much. She placed the phone beside her and whispered, "I didn't forget." The next morning, Veronica called her in. "You're quiet," she said. Just dealing with some things. Veronica raised an eyebrow. From your past. Anna didn't answer. Veronica tapped her pen on the desk. If you want to climb, Anna, you need to know your past will always try to pull you back, especially when it sees you rising. Anna nodded. I know, she said. What she didn't say out loud was this. She wasn't climbing for escape. She was climbing for survival, and she had no intention of falling. Monday morning brought an eerie tension to the 39th floor. Emails arrived late. Phones rang without reason. Executives walked past Anna's desk in tight-lipped pairs, speaking in hushed tones, their brows furrowed. Something was off. The rhythm of the office, the one Anna had finally synchronized herself to, was stumbling. By 9:15 a.m., the unease had a name. Langston Group's biggest project, a multi-million-dollar smart complex development outside the city, was in crisis. Anna overheard snippets from behind closed doors. Investor backlash. Contract loophole. Legal exposure massive. Then Veronica's office door opened. Inside. Now, she said to Anna. Anna followed her in. Veronica didn't sit. She moved straight to the window, arms crossed tightly. We have a problem, she said, voice low and sharp. A big one. Anna stood quietly, waiting. One of our sub-firms inserted a clause into the development contract without my signature. Veronica continued. Clause 14D. It outsources core responsibilities to an overseas contractor with a history of litigation. Anna blinked. That's borderline fraud. Veronica turned. Worse. It gives them legal cover to walk away clean and puts all liabilities on us. The press finds out our investors bolt. We lose everything. Silence. Anna's mind began to race. Her fingers itched for paper. Do we have the original draft? She asked. Veronica gestured to the stack on the table. I've been up all night with legal. No one can trace who approved the clause. Anna picked up the folder, eyes scanning. Then she paused. A signature. It looked like Veronica's, but something felt off. Did you sign this electronically? Anna asked. Veronica narrowed her eyes. No, I sign hard copies for all executive deals. Why? Anna zoomed in on the PDF printout. The signature lacked the small ink bleed Veronica's real pen always left behind. She flipped to another contract, an old one, and compared. There's a difference, Anna said. This one was digitally forged. Veronica crossed the room in 3 steps, looked down, and stiffened. You're right. Who had access to your digital signature files? Anna asked. Veronica's face darkened. 3 people. One of them is Jacob. Anna's stomach turned. Jacob, the same man who had challenged her in that first meeting. The one who always wore control like a weapon. He had motive, access, and a reputation for playing dirty when he didn't get what he wanted. This could ruin us, Veronica said. If this goes public before we move... She didn't finish the sentence. Anna looked up. Then we get ahead of it, find proof, and trap him before he slips away. Veronica studied her, then nodded slowly. You're smarter than most of my board, she said. Anna's heart thudded. Then let me help, she said. Let me do more than take notes. Veronica reached into her drawer and pulled out a smaller key card, silver-edged, with an access code printed in tiny digits. Floor 27, she said. Our secure archives. No one below director level has clearance. She pressed it into Anna's palm. Don't come back until you find something I can use. Anna took the card. This wasn't just a test anymore. This was war. Floor 27 was nothing like the others. While the rest of Belmont Tower glistened with glass, gold, and elegance, the archives were cold, dim, and silent. The lights buzzed faintly overhead, casting a sterile glow on rows of locked cabinets and steel filing drawers that stretched endlessly in both directions. Anna stepped out of the private elevator, clutching the silver-edged access card tightly in her hand. The door closed behind her with a mechanical sigh, leaving her completely alone. She walked past rows labeled in precise fonts, legal, HR, investment, compliance. Finally, she found what she needed, internal contracts, 2022 to present. The key card opened the file room with a soft click. Inside was a temperature control chamber, humming quietly. A long table stretched across the center of the room, and a wall of drawers towered in silence. Anna's hands moved quickly now. She flipped through the hard copies of contracts, comparing signatures, dates, and amendments. She'd only seen the forged signature once, but it had left a distinct impression, an unnatural symmetry, a machine steadiness. No pressure variation like a pen stroke. After an hour, she found a second document with the same anomaly. It was buried deep in a file labeled Langston Holdings, Phase B Contracts. The signature matched the fake. The clause, almost identical. Someone had done this before. She scanned the approval sheet stapled to the back. Electronic authorization by J. Caldwell. Jacob Caldwell. Anna's pulse quickened. She flipped further. A third document. Same pattern. Another forgery. But this one was even more damning. Jacob had backdated it to suggest Veronica had authorized a risky property swap in advance of the Phase B deal. If that were true, it would place legal blame directly on her for decisions she never made. It was a setup, slow, methodical, deliberate, a noose tightening around Veronica's empire. Anna reached for her phone and took high-resolution photos of the 3 forged contracts. Then she made photocopies and slipped them into her portfolio. She turned to leave, then paused. On the back of one contract was a handwritten note. Small, faded. It read, "Send a third-party vault via shuttle, Tuesday, 6 p.m. That was today. Jacob wasn't just trying to hide the documents. He was trying to remove them completely. Anna ran, back to the elevator, back up the spine of the building, back into the sleek tension of floor 39. She burst into Veronica's office without knocking. "I found it," she said, breathless. "And he's moving the originals tonight." Veronica looked up from her screen, eyes sharp. "You're sure?" Anna laid the papers down on her desk. 3 matches. Same forgery. Same clause. One is even backdated to frame you. Veronica scanned the documents silently. When she looked up, her expression had changed. Not angry. Not shocked. Focused. Like a hunter spotting the trail. "Good," she said. "Then it's time we corner him." Anna's voice lowered. "What do we do?" Veronica tapped her desk. "We let him deliver the evidence. And then we pull the ground out from under him." Anna's heart pounded. She had come into this building as a waitress. Now, she was helping take down the man who tried to destroy the company from the inside. And the night was just getting started. The plan was simple, precise, ruthless, just like Veronica. At exactly 5:45 p.m., Anna stood inside the underground parking level of Belmont Tower, behind a tinted pillar near the freight elevator. She wore plain clothes now, a dark hoodie, black jeans, sneakers, her assistant badge tucked deep in her pocket. Across the concrete lot, a black company van idled beside a loading bay. The driver leaned on the steering wheel, bored, unaware of what was hidden in the sealed briefcase on the back seat. Inside that case were the original, forged contracts Jacob intended to vanish. At 6 p.m., the documents would be driven to a third-party storage vault in another district, never to be seen again, unless someone stopped it. Anna checked her phone. 5:56 p.m. A second later, Veronica's voice crackled in her earpiece, disguised as a Bluetooth headset. "He's coming. You have 1 minute." Anna crouched lower, behind a row of concrete dividers. Her heart pounded with every echoing footstep across the garage. And then there he was, Jacob Caldwell, tailored gray suit, leather briefcase in hand. Calm, collected, dangerous. He approached the van without a care in the world. The driver stepped out, opened the back, and Jacob handed off the briefcase like it was nothing more than a bag of groceries. Then he spoke into his phone. "Stage 1 is complete. Send the cleanup payment tonight. I want everything gone before sunrise." Anna's stomach dropped, but the voice on the other end? Familiar. She strained to hear. "I told you, Caldwell, if Langston finds out you've been laundering deals through offshore accounts, she won't just fire you. She'll bury you. A second voice. Different. Anna couldn't place it, but someone else was involved. Suddenly, Jacob froze. He looked around. His eyes scanned the garage. Anna ducked lower, but it was too late. He saw her. His expression changed in a heartbeat, from confidence to fury. "You!" he snapped. "You little parasite." Anna stood up slowly, refusing to show fear. "I know what you did, and now so does she." Jacob took a step toward her. "You think anyone's going to believe a waitress turned secretary with zero power?" And then another voice rang out from behind him. "They won't have to." Veronica Langston stepped out from behind the service pillar, flanked by 2 members of Belmont's private legal security team. Jacob turned pale. "You bugged me," he hissed. Veronica raised a small recorder. Full admission. Wire transfer request. Vault delivery. All of it. Jacob's hands curled into fists. "This is entrapment." "No," she said coolly. "This is business." The security team moved in. Jacob tried to run, but didn't make it 5 steps before being tackled to ground. The sound of the briefcase hitting the pavement echoed like the slamming of a steel door. As they cuffed him, Jacob looked up at Anna. "You think you won?" Anna stared back, calm and steady. "I don't need to win. I just need to make sure people like you lose." Veronica stepped beside her. "Well said." The van was confiscated, the documents secured, and Jacob was taken away in silence. Later that night, back on floor 39, Veronica poured 2 glasses of dark wine and handed one to Anna. "You saved the company," she said simply. Anna hesitated. "I thought I was just an assistant." "You were," Veronica said, raising her glass. "Now you're something else." They clinked their glasses, and for the first time, Anna allowed herself to believe it. She had stepped into power. Not borrowed, not gifted, earned. The headlines broke the next morning. Langston Group executive arrested in contract fraud scheme. Anonymous insider helps expose $20 million corporate cover-up. Veronica Langston clears her name, fires senior strategist in bold legal move. Anna scrolled through the articles on her phone in disbelief. Each one told the same story. Jacob Caldwell caught red-handed attempting to remove forged documents from Langston's records. Each mentioned a mysterious assistant who uncovered the trail. No name, just a whisper. But in the 39th floor of Belmont Tower, everyone knew Anna Rivers wasn't just an assistant anymore. She had become the woman who saved Langston's empire. When she arrived at work, it wasn't the same. The elevator doors opened, and people turned. Nods, smiles, recognition. "Morning, Anna. Good to have you back. Nice work yesterday." Even the executive assistants, once frosty with silent hierarchy, now met her eyes with respect. She made her way down the hall, stepped into Veronica's office, and paused. The desk was empty. A small note waited instead. "Boardroom, 8 o'clock sharp. Bring nothing. Come alone." Anna's heart skipped. She checked her watch. 7:59. She took a breath and walked down the hallway. When she pushed open the heavy glass door to the boardroom, every senior partner was already seated. Suits, silver pens, perfectly poured glasses of water. Veronica sat at the head of the table. "Anna," she said, "take a seat." Anna did. Veronica looked around the room. "Jacob's absence left a void," she said. "We need someone who can handle pressure, understand the heartbeat of the company, and isn't afraid to speak truth to power." The board shifted slightly, murmuring agreement. "Some of you think that person should come from within the board," Veronica continued. "I disagree." She turned to Anna. "I want to promote Anna Rivers to Interim Director of Internal Risk Strategy, effective immediately." The silence that followed was thick. One man coughed. Another adjusted his tie. Anna blinked. I've never held a title like that." "You've already done the job," Veronica said. "With no title, no staff, no formal training. And you did it better than a man who tried to bury us." A woman from the compliance department leaned forward. "She's not even on salary grade for an executive tier." "I'll adjust the scale," Veronica replied without flinching. Anna opened her mouth. "I don't know if I'm ready." Veronica narrowed her eyes. You said something to me the day you dropped that tray, she said. You said you may be a waitress, but you work hard, and I'm not better than you. Anna nodded slowly. That's still true, she whispered. Veronica leaned in, her voice dropping. You've proven more than hard work. You've proven courage, integrity, vision, and those things, they can't be trained. They can only be earned. The boardroom remained still, waiting. Anna looked around, then back at Veronica, and for the first time, she didn't feel small. I'll take the position, she said. A few board members began to clap, hesitantly at first, then louder. Veronica nodded once, firmly. It's done. And just like that, the girl who had once scraped food off expensive shoes now sat at the table where the city's most powerful decisions were made. The table hadn't changed, but Anna had. 2 weeks after Anna's promotion, life at Belmont Tower had changed, but not in the way she expected. Yes, she now had her own office, a nameplate on the frosted glass door, an assistant who knocked before entering. But the long hours hadn't gone away. The pressure hadn't lifted. If anything, it had doubled. Every decision she made rippled through departments. Every misstep could cost the company millions. And yet she was standing, thriving, even on a rare Friday evening. Well, after the others had gone home, Anna sat alone at her desk, sorting through compliance updates when a soft knock echoed on her glass door. She looked up. It was a delivery man in a dark suit, holding a garment bag with a gold tag. He said nothing, just handed it to her and walked away. Anna stood slowly. The tag read, "To Anna Rivers. Return to sender. Never." Inside the bag was a dress. Not just any dress. The dress. The same white silk designer piece that had once been drenched in lobster and champagne. The same dress that had marked the beginning of everything. But this one was pristine, brand new, and altered slightly to her measurements. There was a handwritten note tucked inside. I never let anyone stain my name, but I let you wear it. V. Anna stared at the fabric in stunned silence. It was soft to the touch, weightless but powerful, like holding lightning wrapped in silk. It wasn't a gift. It was a statement. Veronica Langston was passing her a symbol, not of forgiveness, of belonging. The next day, Anna wore the dress. Not to a gala, not to an event. She wore it as she walked into the office and held a strategy session with a dozen department heads. They didn't blink. They didn't whisper. Because she wasn't just the girl who once dropped a tray. She was the woman who saved the company, who exposed corruption, who spoke when no one else dared. And as she sat at the head of the meeting table, pointing at projections and challenging assumptions with steady precision, she saw something shift in the eyes of the people across from her. Recognition. Respect. She wasn't impersonating power anymore. She was power. Later that afternoon, as she stood by the window sipping coffee, Veronica passed by, paused, and gave a small nod. You wear it better than I did, she said without turning. Anna smiled faintly. It fits me now. Veronica walked away, heels echoing softly. And for the first time, Anna realized that white dress, once a symbol of humiliation, was now a banner of triumph. The annual Langston Group Corporate Summit was the most anticipated event of the year. Top investors, CEOs, politicians, and business leaders gathered in the grand ballroom of the Astoria Hall, a towering venue filled with crystal chandeliers, velvet curtains, and gold-trimmed stages. It was a night where reputations were solidified or shattered. Veronica Langston had always closed the evening with a speech. But this year, she didn't walk on stage. Anna did, dressed in the same white silk dress, now iconic among those who knew the story. She stepped confidently into the spotlight, not with notes, not with a rehearsed smile, just presence. The crowd murmured. Some recognized her, some didn't, but they all went silent. Her voice, calm and composed, echoed through the hall. 2 months ago, I dropped a tray of food on a woman who could have destroyed me with one phone call. Polite laughter, uncertain. But instead of burying me, she listened. The room shifted. People leaned in. That moment didn't just change my life. It reminded everyone that power doesn't come from fear. It comes from truth, from showing up, from speaking when your voice shakes. She scanned the crowd. There are people in this room with billion-dollar portfolios, and people who still remember what it's like to count change for gas. I've been both. No one moved. Anna took a breath, then continued. I'm not here tonight because I played it safe. I'm here because I made a mistake, and refuse led to find me. She paused. I wear this dress tonight not because it's expensive, but because it was once ruined and now it's restored. Just like the company we saved. Just like the trust we rebuilt. The silence was thick. Then, without fanfare, Veronica rose from her table near the stage and began to clap. Once, twice, slowly. The room followed. Applause grew louder. Real, surging. Some stood. Others wiped their eyes. Anna bowed her head slightly, then stepped back into the shadows, letting the sound wash over her. She wasn't the waitress anymore. She wasn't even the assistant. She was a woman who made the whole room fall silent, not because she failed, but because she rose. And this time the silence wasn't shame. It was awe. It was respect. It was the sound of a legacy being born.